Most people think popcorn was invented when some guy accidentally dropped corn kernels near a hot stove in the 1800s. That's the story most of us heard growing up. But here's the twist. Popcorn is actually one of the oldest snacks on Earth. We're talking about a food that's been around for literally thousands of years, long before anyone had a microwave or a movie theater. And the real story of how it became the king of snack foods, it's way more interesting than you'd ever guess. Archaeologists have found popped corn kernels in Peru that date back to around 3600 BC. That's over 5,000 years ago. These weren't just random finds either. They found entire bags of popcorn buried with mummies. The ancient Peruvians weren't just growing corn. They had figured out how to pop it and were eating it as a snack. Some of these kernels were so well preserved that scientists were actually able to pop them thousands of years later. And they still tasted good. The Aztecs took popcorn to a whole new level. They didn't just eat it, they made it part of their religion. Aztec women wore popcorn garlands as headdresses during ceremonies. They decorated statues of their gods with popped corn. And during a festival honoring their god of maize, they would shower the god's statue with popcorn like confetti. The Aztecs also used popcorn for decoration, making necklaces, bracelets, and even ear ornaments out of it. It wasn't just food to them, it was sacred. Native American tribes across North America were popping corn long before Europeans showed up. The Iroquois had a special word for it, nazcamin. They ate it for breakfast, mixed it with milk and sweeteners, and even used it to make beer. When European settlers arrived, they were amazed that the Native Americans could make corn kernels explode into fluffy white puffs. The settlers adopted popcorn immediately. By the 1800s, popcorn was everywhere in America. It was cheap, filling, and delicious. In 1885, a candy maker named Charles Creters invented the first commercial popcorn machine in Chicago. He had been selling popcorn from a horse-drawn cart, but he wanted something better. His machine could pop corn evenly using steam power, and it was a game changer. Suddenly, popcorn wasn't just something you made at home. It was a street food that could be sold anywhere. Creters set up his machine outside movie theaters, and the rest is history. By 1900, his popcorn machines were in every major city in America. Here's something most people don't know: popcorn actually saved the movie industry during the Great Depression. While other businesses were going bankrupt, popcorn sales skyrocketed. Why? Because a bag of popcorn cost only 5 to 10 cents. People couldn't afford expensive entertainment, but they could afford popcorn. Movie theaters that started selling popcorn saw their profits jump by 20 to 50%. Some theaters that refused to sell popcorn actually went out of business. Popcorn literally kept Hollywood alive during its darkest years. During World War II, sugar was rationed, which meant candy sales dropped dramatically. But popcorn sales actually increased. Americans bought popcorn as a patriotic duty. The government even encouraged it. Popcorn was cheap, didn't require imported ingredients, and gave people a small comfort during tough times. By 1945, Americans were eating so much popcorn that the average person consumed about a pound of it per week. That's a lot of popcorn. The military even included popcorn in soldiers' rations. In 1945, a scientist named Percy Spencer was working on radar equipment at Raytheon when he noticed a chocolate bar in his pocket had melted. This led to the discovery of the microwave oven. But the real popcorn moment came in 1981 when General Mills introduced the first microwave popcorn bag. It was instant. Just pop it in the microwave for 3 minutes, and you had fresh popcorn. By 1985, microwave popcorn was a billion-dollar industry. It completely changed how Americans ate popcorn. Movie theaters and popcorn have been inseparable since the 1930s, but the relationship was almost destroyed. In the 1930s and 40s, theaters tried to ban outside food, including popcorn. They wanted people to buy expensive concessions instead. But the Great Depression had already turned popcorn into a theater staple. Audiences rebelled, they brought popcorn from outside, or they just didn't go to theaters that banned it. Eventually, theaters realized they could make more money selling popcorn than selling tickets. During the California Gold Rush of 1849, popcorn was one of the most popular snacks. Miners would buy popcorn from street vendors near the mines. It was cheap, filling, and could be eaten without utensils. Popcorn became so associated with the gold rush that miners actually called it prospector's gold. Some vendors made more money selling popcorn than the miners made looking for actual gold. Popcorn was the original energy bar, portable, nutritious, and always ready to go. In the late 1800s, popcorn balls became a national obsession in America. These were balls of popcorn held together with syrup or molasses, and they were everywhere at fairs, school events, political rallies, and even funerals. There was even a popcorn ball day celebrated on November 29th. During the 1920s and 30s, popcorn balls were given out at church socials and community gatherings. The tradition died out during World War II because sugar rationing made the syrup too expensive to produce. In 1976, a man named Orville Redenbacher changed the popcorn industry forever. He had spent years crossbreeding popcorn kernels to create a new variety that popped bigger and fluffier than anything else on the market. He called it butterfly popcorn. Redenbacher branded his popcorn with his own name and likeness, creating one of the most recognizable food brands in America. He appeared in his own TV commercials wearing a bow tie and glasses, becoming a pop culture icon. His secret: he actually grew and tested over 30,000 different popcorn hybrids. Here's the science behind popcorn. Each kernel has a tiny drop of water inside its starchy center. When you heat it, that water turns to steam and builds pressure. The kernel's shell holds the pressure until it reaches about 180 degrees Celsius. Then pop, the kernel explodes, and the starch expands into the fluffy white shape we all know. Not every kernel pops, though. About 2 to 5% of kernels stay unpopped. These are called old maids. The perfect popcorn kernel has about 13 to 14% moisture content. Popcorn isn't just an American thing. It's eaten all over the world, but in very different ways. In Mexico, people season popcorn with chili powder, lime juice, and salt. In Japan, they have sweet flavors like caramel and matcha. In India, street vendors sell popcorn with masala spices. In the Philippines, popcorn is mixed with dried fish. In Brazil, it's a staple at soccer games and served with butter or cheese. Every culture has found its own way to enjoy this ancient snack. The popcorn industry is absolutely massive. Americans eat about 17 billion quarts of popcorn every year. That's enough to fill the Empire State Building 18 times. The United States produces 70% of the world's popcorn supply, mostly from Nebraska, Indiana, and Illinois. The average American consumes about 50 quarts per year. And here's the kicker: popcorn is actually a whole grain, so it's one of the healthiest snacks you can eat, as long as you don't drown it in butter and salt. Caramel corn has its own fascinating history. In 1893, Frederick William Ruckheim, a German immigrant, started selling caramel-coated popcorn at the Chicago World's Fair. His creation was a hit, and he perfected the recipe with his brother Louis. They branded it Cracker Jack in 1896. The snack became so famous that it was mentioned in the 1908 baseball song, "Take Me Out to the Ball Game." Cracker Jack became synonymous with American baseball culture, and the caramel corn recipe was so good that the company still sells it today. Popcorn has played a surprisingly important role in American politics. During presidential campaigns in the 1800s, candidates would give out free popcorn to attract voters. Abraham Lincoln's supporters handed out popcorn at campaign rallies. In the early 1900s, popcorn balls were used as political favors. Candidates would have their faces stamped on them. Even today, popcorn is served at political fundraisers and election night parties. It's become a symbol of American democracy, literally. Drive-in movie theaters, which peaked in the 1950s and 60s, had a special relationship with popcorn. Families would pack coolers with drinks and snacks, but popcorn was always the star. Some drive-ins even had built-in popcorn machines near the speakers. The smell of popcorn was part of the drive-in experience. It mixed with the evening air and made everything feel magical. When drive-ins declined in the 1970s and 80s, the popcorn tradition moved indoors to multiplex theaters, which charged even higher prices for it. In 2020, astronauts on the International Space Station actually grew and popped popcorn in microgravity. It was part of an experiment to study how food behaves in zero gravity. The results were fascinating. Popcorn pops differently in space because there's no convection. The kernels spin and tumble instead of rising, and the popped corn looks slightly different from what we get on Earth. Scientists say understanding how popcorn behaves in space could help design better food systems for long missions to Mars. Street vendors selling popcorn from carts was one of the most iconic images of American cities from the 1900s to the 1950s. These carts were usually operated by immigrants who bought the machines from Charles Creders or his competitors. The vendors would push their carts through neighborhoods, calling out to attract customers. The smell of fresh popcorn was their best advertisement. Some of these vendors became local celebrities. People would wait for their specific cart because they had a special butter recipe or seasoning blend. Here's a fun fact. The White House has had its own popcorn machine for decades. Every president since the 1960s has had access to a popcorn maker in the White House kitchen. Barack Obama was known to enjoy popcorn during movie nights with his family. George W. Bush reportedly ate popcorn every evening while watching sports. Even Harry Truman was a popcorn lover. He had a special popcorn recipe that included a dash of cinnamon. The White House popcorn machine is one of the most requested items by new first families. During Prohibition from 1920 to 1933, when alcohol was banned in America, popcorn sales exploded. People needed something to do at social gatherings, and popcorn filled that void. Movie theaters, dance halls, and speakeasies all sold popcorn to keep patrons happy. Some speakeasies even served popcorn as a cover. The smell of popcorn made it look like a legitimate food establishment rather than a legal bar. Popcorn became the unofficial drink replacement of the Prohibition era. The debate over the perfect popcorn container has been going on for decades. In the 1940s, movie theaters started using large paper bags, then moved to cardboard boxes in the 1960s. The classic red and white striped popcorn bucket became iconic in the 1970s. But here's the thing, theaters have been caught shrinking the containers while keeping prices the same. This practice, called shrinkflation, has made popcorn one of the most expensive snacks per ounce in the world. A large popcorn at some theaters can cost over $8, even though the corn itself costs less than 50 cents. Popcorn has been used as survival food for centuries because it's lightweight, nutritious, and has an incredibly long shelf life. Unpopped kernels can last for years if stored properly. During World War II, the U.S. government included popcorn in soldiers' sea rations. Civil defense agencies recommended popcorn as part of emergency food supplies during the Cold War. Even today, survivalist communities stockpile popcorn as an emergency food because it's calorie-dense, requires no refrigeration, and can be popped with almost any heat source. Popcorn is constantly evolving. Today, you can buy popcorn in flavors that would have seemed impossible 50 years ago: truffle, sriracha, dill pickle, birthday cake, and even champagne. Gourmet popcorn shops are popping up in cities around the world, selling artisan popcorn for $8 to $12 a bag. And scientists are working on new popcorn varieties that are even bigger, fluffier, and more flavorful. Some researchers are even exploring genetically modified popcorn that pops with less oil. The humble corn kernel that was first popped over 5,000 years ago still has plenty of surprises left. So the next time you're at the movies or popping a bag at home, remember you're not just eating a snack. You're participating in a tradition that's over 5,000 years old. From ancient Peruvian mummies to modern movie theaters, popcorn has been with humanity every step of the way. If you enjoyed this journey through popcorn history, smash that like button, subscribe to ScrollSmartss, and drop a comment telling me your favorite popcorn flavor. I'll see you in the next one.